What's up, peeps? Spencer Smoot here. Unsolicited QA. I'm doing a interaction video. I'm doing a reaction video to interaction in action. Reaction. Huh, sorry. Um, I've watched this before. I just went through real quick, and it's super interesting, and so I'm gonna kind of react to it. Um, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Here we go.
The interactions that we have in our game define how reactive the environment is, define how simulated that space feels, how real and immersive it reacts, and is a big part of driving emergent gameplay of I see a thing, I understand it, I expect it to behave a certain way, and then it does.
Yeah, I think it's super important because it's um, pretty much everything in the game is going to be kind of interactable, right? In a way, like I'm thinking in my brain, like the engineering system, right? Like there needs to be physical interaction, right? So it's really cool that they have like a full like they think about the interactions, and yeah.
We make zoos primarily to demonstrate a playground of the functionality that we have. And also, here is an example setup of how those things are achieved. A designer is able to go in and see that if they've had any issue with their own implementation prior to bothering an engineer, they can take a look at the gold standard of here's a thing with nothing else working. See if that gives you some hints first before we start interrupting an engineer. If
Yeah, that's super important because engineers are expensive. They're highly skilled in what they do. So, um, I mean, designers are also, but the issue is that like designers are paid less most of the time. It matters what kind of designer you are and all that jazz, but like engineers, because of their skill set and if they're really good at what they do, they get paid more. I want to talk about this that we're seeing here though. Too is like this is a tool, right? This looks like it's in engine. Lumberyard editor up here at the top. I don't know if I can. I can't really get rid of this, but at the top here, and this is the engine. Well, they're using. I'm not exactly sure how they're using both engines together. I have to kind of do more research on it, but this is a tool, and then most likely what's happened too is that engineers have put stuff on top of that, and that's kind of what we usually see in game development is tools and like tool design and creation is a very big part of game development. If like you want to get a job in game development, you can make tools, and it's like for me, I don't have interest in making tools. Um, I would rather just make the game, but like, that's part of it though. Like it's and I'm not really. I don't think I have the skill set of like programming to actually make the tools, but tools are super important, and that's actually uh, one of the things I think that like is holding back Star Citizen right now is the creation of tools. But they're almost at the end of that, right? So here we go.
if you go in and you find it broken, that's a good moment to call an engineer. All that in mind, we've been making an interaction zoo, a place to demonstrate all of the different nuanced and complicated interactions that we can get between a bunch of different entities that designers can go take a look at and draw inspiration from to pull into their levels, their ships, their whatever environments we're making.
I've never heard of this before. It sounds like an amazing thing though. Um, yeah, like I was like, holy crap, that's a cool idea. I wish I can go in and play, and then like it's designing too. So apparently, they have certain interactions, and then you can kind of just pick and choose the interactions and put them into the game. That's what it sounds like. Um, but it's like it. I mean, we'll go on, but it just looks super cool, and it looks very very cool to work with or fun to work with. So, I mean, it gives the um, one of the things about design is that starting from zero, right? Like it's super hard, but if you have little, having kernels, right? Like the game that I'm creating now, it's a horror survival ish game, a 2D kind of experience game. Um, we just like did a random thing. It's an exercise that we did in school. We just did a random thing that's like rolled. Like we rolled out like colors, space, and escape. So we took those three things and said, okay, let's make a prison escape game that they're escaping from prison. Um, and like that's kind of the thing that I'm thinking about here is like they have a full thing of all these are all the interactions that you can do in the game. So you know, come here kind of get some inspiration about like in level design or just like design in general of later on and maybe going expanding more and just all that stuff. So it's really good. It's a good kernel I feel to kind of just hang out in the area and like kind of play with stuff. So
The reason I like zoos, philosophically, I believe as a game designer, the two core parts of gameplay are collision and doors. With our doors, we've got all these automatic doors, and those doors connect between rooms, and every time a door doesn't react the way you expect, it breaks your immersion and pulls you out of the game.
that's super interesting because um, I didn't think about doors, but collision is super important. If collision didn't happen, if we could not calculate collision, games would not exist. You can't have a video game without collision. Like it, if you really think about it, like yeah, you can't. Like there's no game that is there that you can actually collision wise. You can have them without controls. You can have them do like pretty much everything else, but collision has to be there. The doors thing is interesting. I would say probably for this project, but you can kind of get away with no doors in like let's say a bullet hell game, right? There's no doors and stuff, but this is just I think he's just kind of specifically talking about this. But it's interesting to hear different design philosophies, right? And yeah, I definitely do believe in the collision thing because everything is collision, like everything. So
Even with something simple like a control panel, we can explore things like enabling and disabling the proximity sensor so that you have control over whether or not it lets you through automatically or if you have to interact, and make sure it's all working properly. Beyond the control panels, there's the doors themselves, which give us many opportunities for complex and nuanced behaviors. So we've explored things where if you cut the power to a door, it'll stop its behavior. The lights will go out on the control panel and you won't be able to interact with it in that way anymore. But then maybe we make this wedge kit that you physically place on the door, which pries it open and which allows you then to sneak through. And maybe even past that, there's the locks on the door could be physical and have their own state and have their own health. And if those things get changed, either by some lockpicking gameplay or some damage or some external thing that we could explore even beyond, that you might trigger an alarm.
So like this is part of the like the scarcity of space mechanic that they're going with. Like you only have enough space to bring certain things. So like I have a Titan. Like can I bring a door wedge kit and all my gear and everything like that, and then enough food for a long journey? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not sure how much space I'm gonna have, but like it's definitely something that you have to make hard choices with, and that's a lot of where the game comes from, I think. And bigger ships and bigger storage is going to be at a premium, and that opens up more gameplay too, right? Like if you have a supply ship with you, and then pirates see the supply ship, then they can pirate the supply ship, right? It's just kind of one of those things that just adds to the gameplay without really you don't have to design more, right? It just kind of it's inherently gameplay, right? It's inherent gameplay of just like it's pirating is gonna happen because they're gonna attack supply ships, so and they don't have to really do much more than actually have those systems at a base level, and then the interaction creates certain things. So it's super interesting.
When alarm triggers, we want to have that event actually get passed through the environment. And so even just by having a single chain of communication, being able to interrupt it at any stage or alter it at any stage creates all this opportunity for subversion, reaction, for the doors to get locked down, and for the alarm lights to go off. And
so like this is crazy too, because it's like it's I didn't even think that this was going to be in the game, like being able to kind of hack alarm systems, right? Like they're putting in things to kind of change the states, but like having that as you can having this looks like wiring, right, a little bit, like maybe cutting the wires, and then that opens up like where you put the alarm system and how does that work and all that stuff. So it's just crazy. Like it's like this game is crazy. It blows my mind every time, like just seeing this stuff, because it's so big, right? Like the game is attention to detail at its finest. They just look at the detail and just do it. So it's amazing.
Start blaring, or for those things to fail to happen or get stuck in that state because something went wrong or some sabotage went right. As each thing feeds into the next behavior, it creates a world that feels real.
Yeah.
It creates a world you can make a plan for and a world you can react to.
The way in which we interact with objects in the game world is essential to creating an immersive and enjoyable experience.
That was awesome. I would love to kind of play around and kind of come up with ideas of design there, because it's like that's where the like designers create the interaction that the players have, right? And it's super cool to see like a place that they have all these, and it just like is just you can just kind of, I just have so many ideas now, right? Like I'm just like, holy crap, you can do this and this and this, right? And just make it so it feels really good, right? So, and it plays really good, and it's deep, and it's not just something that like is so shallow, right? Like it's like one of the biggest issues with Star Citizen right now is it's just a big like 1-inch lake, right? Like a 1-inch ocean. Like it's and there's some deepness, right? Like if you do mining, but mining's really not deep, right? But like it's 1-inch ocean. But what they're doing is they're just excavating, taking that stuff out. The baseline is here. iCache just needs to happen, and then once that happens, I think a lot of stuff is going to come, because when physicalized parts come, then like that is going to change gameplay as much as like having the planets being able to go to the planets, right? I wasn't around like before that, like but just having physicalized components is a huge mechanic of the game, and it's a very big thing that like defines what the game is. So because the other stuff, like the professions and stuff, you can mine in Elite Dangerous, you can do you can mine in Eve, right? Like you can do the same, it's a different mechanic, but like it's the same kind of thing, but they don't have physicalized components, right? Or they don't have physicalized inventories, right? So that is what makes this feel so real, right? It's just going to be crazy. It's insane. Hey, Feature Spencer here. Breaking it up into 2 parts. This is part 1. In the description will be part 2. And I like what I see so far, and it just kind of, it's cool to see the rest of it. So make sure you check out the next video. If you could like and subscribe also, that would be great. And thanks for watching, and bye.